She had no pride left, just a soaked baby and a quiet plea for scraps. But the billionaire who walked out that door was about to walk into destiny instead. It was one of those cold city evenings where the rain does not fall, it clings. A poor single mother stood outside Le Chateau Argent, the city's most luxurious restaurant, holding her baby close under a threadbare blanket. Her coat was too thin, her shoes soaked through. But her pride? That had already been swallowed long ago. Her name was Jasmine Clark, and tonight she was not begging for money. She only hoped for kindness. Her baby had not eaten in nearly a day, and the formula she needed might as well have been gold. Through the window, she saw laughter, candlelight, and the clinking of wine glasses. Men in sharp suits and women in glittering gowns. Jasmine's stomach growled, but she ignored it. She gently rocked her child and whispered, "Just a little longer, baby, just a little longer." Then, the door swung open. Out stepped a tall man in a dark wool coat. His umbrella gleamed. He was handsome, polished, and powerful. Graham Whitmore, billionaire, restaurateur, untouchable. His car, a sleek black Rolls-Royce, waited at the curb. Jasmine's voice caught in her throat, but she found the courage. "Sir, I do not want money. Do you have any leftovers for my baby?" He turned sharply. The maitre d' behind him almost laughed. A security guard leaned in, but Graham raised a single finger. Silence fell. The man studied her like she was a puzzle, wet, trembling, and beneath him. He said nothing, only stared. Jasmine lowered her eyes, suddenly ashamed. But then, the baby let out a small cry. It was soft, desperate, hungry. And something in Graham's face changed. He said, "Wait here." She did not move, could not breathe. 3 minutes later, he returned, not with a doggy bag, but with a full tray of hot food, enough for a small army. He handed it to her without a word. But then he paused again. His eyes dropped to the baby's tiny hand. That was when he saw it. A ring, too large for a baby, too old for her. A man's ring. Gold, with an engraving. His expression went rigid. "Where did you get that?" he asked, voice low. Jasmine clutched the baby protectively. It was her father's." Graham's hands tightened. "That ring is one of a kind." He pulled back his coat and revealed an identical ring on his own finger. The same family crest, the same rare markings. Lightning cracked overhead. The billionaire who had given food out of pity now stared at her not with compassion, but with shock, fear, and something deeper, recognition. A poor single mother asked billionaire for leftovers. What happened next changed their lives forever. Jasmine could feel her pulse in her throat. She had asked for food, not questions, not memories, not pain. But now this stranger, this billionaire, was looking at her baby like he had seen a ghost. And that ring, the one her late fiancé had given her when they still believed in miracles, was the center of it all. "Where did you get that ring?" Graham repeated, this time softer, but more shaken.
Jasmine instinctively stepped back, shielding her daughter. "It belonged to her father. He passed before she was born." There was a long, suffocating pause. Graham looked like the rain had hit him from the inside. "That ring was made from my brother," he said. "He disappeared 6 years ago. His name was Marcus Whitmore." Jasmine's breath caught. Her fiancé had told her his name was Marcus, but he had also told her to keep a low profile when he left for something dangerous. He promised he would come back. He never did. Tears welled in her eyes. He said he was going to fix things. He just wanted to be good enough for his family again. Graham ran a hand over his mouth. For once, the billionaire did not look like a man in control. He looked like a man watching the floor vanish beneath his feet. "Come with me," he said quietly. Jasmine clutched her baby tighter. I cannot just go with a stranger." He lowered his voice. "I am not a stranger to you or her. If she is Marcus's child, then she is family, and I owe her everything he never got to give." The Rolls-Royce door swung open. Inside, warmth, safety, confusion. Jasmine sat frozen on the leather seat, her daughter asleep against her chest. The food sat untouched in her lap. Her mind was spinning. The driver pulled off in silence as Graham made a call. Jasmine listened as he spoke in sharp, urgent tones. "I need Marcus's records, every photo, every letter, tonight." Then, gently, he turned to her. "Tell me everything, from the moment you met him to the day he left." And so she did. Her voice trembled through every word. The first date at the pier, the time he danced with her in the rain, the way he promised to come back with a better life, a future, the day she found out she was pregnant, and the silence that followed. By the end, she was crying, not because she was weak, but because she had never told the full story out loud before. Graham did not interrupt. He just listened. When she finished, he whispered, "You deserved so much more." She looked up, eyes red. "I never wanted anything, just food for my baby." He nodded, slowly. "And instead, you brought her home."
The next morning, Jasmine awoke in a room that looked like something out of a dream, or a magazine she would never afford. Soft white curtains danced in the breeze. A gold-framed mirror reflected a woman she barely recognized. Tired, yes, but safe for the first time in years. Her baby lay beside her on fresh linen, peacefully asleep. But peace was short-lived. There was a knock. Then Graham entered, holding a thick folder. His face was unreadable. "I had my team look into Marcus's files," he said. "There is something you need to see." Jasmine sat up, heart in her throat. Inside the folder were photographs, some old, some recent. Letters Marcus had written but never sent. One in particular stood out. It was addressed to "My brother, Graham." The paper was stained, the ink faded, but the pain was still fresh in every line. "I left because I made a mistake. I fell in love with someone they would never accept. But she is good, better than me. I will protect her, even if it means disappearing." Jasmine covered her mouth. The letter was dated 2 weeks before he vanished. "I never knew," Graham said quietly. "I thought he was running from responsibility. I thought he hated me." "No," Jasmine whispered. "He was trying to protect us. He told me someone in his family disapproved, someone powerful." Graham nodded slowly. "Our father, he was ruthless, said Marcus's choices would shame the family. He threatened to cut him off, disown him publicly. I thought he was bluffing. But Marcus believed him. He believed he had no way out." There was silence between them. Then Graham spoke again, carefully this time. "There is more. Our father passed away last year. In his final days, he wrote a new will. We never understood why." He handed Jasmine the final page. Her eyes scanned the words, heart pounding. "If Marcus Whitmore is deceased and has a living heir, they are entitled to half of the estate on one condition. The child must be brought forward before their 3rd birthday." Her hands began to shake. Her daughter, barely 2 years old. Graham's voice cracked slightly. "He never stopped loving you, Jasmine. He gave up everything for you. And now your daughter may inherit the very empire Marcus walked away from." "But I do not care about money," she said softly. "I know," Graham replied, "which is exactly why you deserve it." Just then, the baby stirred. Graham knelt beside the bed, gently touching her tiny hand. His eyes filled, not with wealth or calculation, but with something Jasmine had not expected from a man like him. Grief. And maybe something else. Redemption. "He lost a brother," he whispered. "I will not lose her too." Jasmine stared at him,
unsure if she could trust again, unsure what tomorrow held. But for the first time in years, she did not feel alone. Not in this house, not in this truth, and not in this moment. Because what started with a plea for leftovers was slowly becoming the beginning of a life she had only dared to imagine. What happened next changed their lives forever. 1 year later, the mansion that once felt like a stranger's castle now echoed with laughter, tiny footsteps, and a kind of warmth even wealth could not buy. Jasmine stood on the marble balcony, her daughter asleep in her arms, watching the sunrise over a garden she had once only seen from the outside. The same garden where she had first walked in with muddy shoes, clinging to shame and hunger. She was no longer that woman. She was no longer alone. Graham stepped out beside her, holding 2 cups of tea. He looked softer these days, more Wall Street, more family man. He handed her the cup and looked at the child in her arms. She looks more like him every day. Jasmine smiled, a quiet ache still in her chest. I'd talked to her about Marcus. I want her to know the kind of man he was. Graham nodded. And I want her to know the kind of woman her mother is. Brave, honest, strong enough to ask for leftovers and walk away with a legacy. The baby stirred, opening her eyes, curious, bright, full of promise. Just then, a small voice called from inside the house. Aunt Jasmine, come quick! It was Ella, Graham's niece. Since Jasmine had moved in, the 2 families had grown inseparable. The girl adored Jasmine's daughter, and Jasmine in return had become a guiding presence in her life. Inside the grand hall, guests had begun to arrive. Board members, staff, community leaders. The press stood ready by the velvet rope. It was the grand opening of the Marcus Foundation, a nonprofit created in honor of Graham's brother and led by Jasmine. Her name was now etched on the building's glass entrance. Single mothers deserve dignity, she said during her speech, her voice steady. No child should go to sleep hungry. No woman should be punished for love. Marcus believed in a world like that, and so do I. The applause was thunderous, but behind the cameras, the real moment happened quietly. An older woman stepped out of the crowd. She wore pearls and a deep sorrow in her eyes. Jasmine recognized her immediately from the photos, Graham and Marcus's mother. The woman approached with trembling hands. I was wrong, she said softly. I let fear and pride blind me. Marcus was my son, and you are the mother of my grandchild. Jasmine looked at Graham, unsure. He nodded. She stepped forward, holding the baby. The woman's hands shook as she touched the child's cheek. She is beautiful, she whispered. I would like to know her if you will let me. Jasmine took a long breath and said the words she once thought she never could. Yes, but not as a stranger, as family. Tears slid down the woman's face. Graham placed a hand on her shoulder, and for the first time in many years, the Whitmore family stood together again, not in silence, not in shame, but in hope. Outside the hall, the sky turned gold. Jasmine looked at her daughter and whispered, We were never asking for scraps. We were waiting for our place at the table. And now, they had it. Forever. If this story moved you, do not forget to subscribe for more emotional, true-style stories here on Mystery Thrill. Thank you for watching.